Hey guys, thanks for joining us today. Today I'm sitting here with Chris Okolita, who's the team manager for the Sanctuary team at My Home Group. Chris and I have been working together for about 4 months now. I've been coaching him along through Bob Hertzog coaching. And I thought it'd be a great time, now that I've gotten to know Chris a little bit better, for him to come on. He's really got a pretty cool story of where everything started and where he is today as a team leader for the Sanctuary team. So I thought it'd be cool for him to come on and share a little bit of his history and what they're up to now. And hopefully, for those of you that either are currently leading a team, or if you're a broker or an aspiring team leader, aspiring broker, hopefully you'll be able to get some nuggets out of today's conversation. So Chris, why don't you just kind of start off by telling us about you and where did you all start? I know you're not a Phoenix guy.
Thanks, Bob. Yeah. So moved here originally from Chicago, first generation Polak, from Poland. So I speak it, read it, write it. So I love that I got that culture and could speak multiple languages. But moved here from Chicago in '98. So I've experienced the first year moving here and not seeing snow on the ground for Christmas. That was kind of a shocker. I thought it snowed everywhere for Christmas, but no, I've made Arizona home. I've lived in Scottsdale. I've lived in Gilbert. I tried Chandler a little bit and went back to Gilbert. I love Gilbert. I love where I'm at. And if I do want to see the snow, I just drive a couple hours up north and get to play in the snow there. So I have some fun with that. But Arizona is home now, Gilbert, Arizona, to be more specific. And obviously, at My Home Group, and the license is hung at the brokerage there in Scottsdale. So I love everything about everything that Gilbert, or not even Gilbert, but just Arizona has to offer. We don't have the seasons that we do back home, but at the same time, it's kind of like a flip of a switch. It's either hot or cold. There's no in between, but it's great. I love Arizona.
Very cool. Now, did you come here as a real estate agent, or did you get your license after you moved here, or what's the work life been like? Where'd you start?
Sure. So, actually, entrepreneurial spirit. That's who I am. I don't. I'm not someone who likes to go in and punch a clock and sit at a desk or do something. Right. I've been self-employed since I was 16 years old. So 16 years old, went out and started doing some landscaping, like mowing lawns. Then a friend of mine joined the business, and we kind of combined it. And so what we would do is we would do lawn care and mowing the lawns and cutting the hedges and all that. But then we started doing window washing to all of our clients, and then back home we have something called Menards, which is kind of like a Home Depot out here, and we did driveway seal coating. So we would go to Menards, fill up the back of the truck with the 5-gallon buckets of tar, shake the heck out of them, and then pour it down on the asphalt and squeegee and brush it. And we did that, and then we figured out, well, what do we do in the wintertime, since we don't have any windows to wash or driveways to seal coat or lawns to mow. So we're like, well, we've got a couple of trucks. Let's get some plows, right? So we got some plows, and we started plowing all of our clients and got some commercial accounts and did that. But moving to Arizona, when I moved to Arizona, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and had a couple of little part-time jobs. And being a bachelor at the time, I worked at the nightclubs and did security at the clubs and whatnot. So that was fun.
You're a bouncer.
Yeah.
You look like you could be a bouncer.
Yeah, it was fun. And I was a lot thinner and more muscle back then. Had hair. So now I'm aged and married and have 2 amazing kids.
Right.
But I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I didn't want to have a normal job. So when we moved here, my parents got their house, and we had these guys come over and install landscaping, and they're running all these like pipes underground that were just rolled up. And I'm like, Dad, what is that? He goes, I don't know. He goes, I don't know what that does. Because we didn't have irrigation systems back home, right?
Right.
We had Mother Nature and humidity that was, taking care of our lawns and everything.
Right. Interesting. Yeah.
So I kind of got a job working with this guy digging swimming pools. And so I was a trim shovel operator, and I drove his little truck and, dumped the dirt and whatnot. But I think that's what got me back into landscaping, because that's what I enjoyed doing when I was back home. So a little bit of a different process. Out there, we're dealing with nice, rich soil. Over here, we're dealing with sand, kludgy, and rock, right? So,
yep, totally different.
I watched a couple of jobs where we were at, and watched what some of these guys did, and I started doing like this little mom and pop shop landscaping stuff, and mowing lawns, trimming bushes, and pruning trees and all that kind of stuff. But it wasn't until I wanted to get into installs. So I ran that business, had it for about 13 years.
Oh, wow.
And we became one of the largest landscape companies in the East Valley. So we did everything from concrete work to building barbecue islands to ramadas, installing turf and rock and plants and trees and everything that goes with landscaping. But I realized, I thought that there's something a little bit different that I wanted to do, because it's quite hot out here in Arizona, if you haven't noticed.
Oh, yeah.
So I got a buddy of mine. Actually, it was one of my last jobs, and this guy, we hit it off, and we became great friends. And I says to him, I'm like, hey Brian, I go, I'm tired of this, man. It's too hot out here. I want to do a job where I put on a shirt and tie and punch a clock and make some money without having to do a profit and loss every day,
Right.
So I got a job working at Bank of America, and started out as a loan officer. I got pretty good at that, but I got bored with it. I wanted something different. I love numbers. I'm an analyst. So there was a position where there was an analyst position at Bank of America, and I got that, interviewed for it, got the job, and I was there for 8 years on that job. So that was fun. But with corporate culture, there comes change depending upon what's happening on in the market, in the world, and whatnot. So meeting a couple of people while working at Bank of America, and meeting their spouses, and just being here in Arizona, I met a few realtors, and they were telling me about all the success that they have and how much they love doing real estate. So time came, I got laid off from Bank of America. I took a year off and enjoyed myself, and went fishing and hung out with my dad for lunch quite often, and met with my brother, and just had an amazing time. But then I realized that it's time to get down to business. So what better thing to do than to get into real estate, especially if I'm an entrepreneur.
Right.
I've been successful in any business that I've started. I don't know if it's pure luck or someone's looking after me, but I've been successful, and I am successful, and I love what I do, and I love helping people. So the incentive there was a little bit financial, and then the other part of it was helping people. So got my real estate license, and
what year was that?
What was it, 2014 maybe?
Okay.
So
So you've been licensed about 9 years.
7 years now. So
7 years.
Yeah. So a little bit.
So 2016.
Yeah, something like that. So been a licensed realtor now for 7 years, and joined a brokerage that was right down the street from my house. So I thought it was convenient. Didn't even interview anybody else or talk to anybody. I was like, oh, there's an office down the street from my house. Let's just go join there. Yeah. It was a good relationship. It was fun, but I decided to go a different route, and found my home group. And I've hung my license there. And I think it was when I got to my home group, and the opportunities that I have is what created a lot of success. So the relationship that I had with my lead source and with my home group and the people that I met at my home group contributed to my success.
That's great. That's cool. So how long were you a solo agent before you decided to start a real estate team?
Very short time.
Okay.
Very short time. I
Okay.
want to say 2 years.
Wow.
So 2 years before I started a team.
Yeah.
My very first year in real estate, and from what I'm gathering from a lot of people is that it's not common, but my very first year I did 21 transactions simply from doing open houses.
Wow.
Yeah. I didn't know what to do at an open house, Bob.
Hey, you don't need to know what to do. You've got people coming to you, look, that you know, or most of them are motivated to do something, right? So not a whole lot you have to do there, but just meet them, ask them what they're looking for.
Well, I didn't know that I had to ask them what they were looking for, because I literally just said, here's the sheet, take a, tour of the property. If you have any questions, let me know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know what to do.
Yeah. You don't know.
So
what you do. Yeah.
what do you do at an open house, right? So I started using an entrepreneurial, mindset and trying to think of different ways on how to be successful in that. And what do I got to do? I can't just put out 1 or 2 signs and say, hey, there's an open house, come get some free cookies and water.
Right.
Every agent does it, right? So I went outside of the box. And I thought, okay, maybe we need to put more than 2 signs. Maybe we got to put 20 signs or 30 signs. So I went out and got all these signs, Bob, and I literally plastered the neighborhood, plastered the surrounding area with open house signs. And you had no doubt where the open house was happening because these signs led you to it.
And you did this yourself. You didn't hire someone to put the signs up for you. Got it. Wow.
I don't care if it was, the winter time or the summertime when it was 118 degrees out. The best part is putting out the signs in the morning, and doing your open house. The worst part is picking those signs up in the afternoon when it's 115 or 20 out. When
I own my own team, my own brokerage, I've always said the same thing to my agents. It's the highest ROI thing you can do in our industry to generate business.
100%.
It's just your time. And if you're going to sit at home doing nothing, waiting for your phone to ring, why not go to an open house where you're meeting prospective clients, and not just potential buyers, but sellers, people in the neighborhood, the nosy neighbors that come by. Sure. And how many times did you have people come in saying, I've wanted to see the inside of this house for 20 years. So I'm glad it's, but those nosy neighbors turn into listings. Okay. Because 100%. They want someone that's going to work their ass off to get their house sold. And here's this guy out here slugging away, putting 25 signs in. Man, if he can do that for me, maybe we should talk to him about listing our house. Right. So that's probably, I guess that's probably, you had that come up, when you were doing
Bob, I'm not even going to tell you how many times it's happened where I was doing an open house and people would show up to the open house and say, look, I'm not looking at buying this house, but looks like you want to sell it. You want to sell mine?
Exactly.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And we've really gotten away from that. Okay. I see in these real estate agent forums on Facebook, does anyone want to sit my open house? Or I'll pay you. I've seen people saying, I will pay you to sit my open houses. And I'm going, you don't have to pay for that. Okay. So someone should be jumping at that opportunity, especially if it's a higher end home in an area that you're going to get a lot of traffic. That's a gold mine. So
Bob, I could talk hours about how to do the perfect open house and which property to choose. That's another podcast that we could do.
Okay.
But I will tell you, I do have the secret formula to a successful open house. And those agents that don't want to do an open house, shame. It's shame. There's so many opportunities that you get from an open house. It's amazing. And the success is phenomenal.
Very cool. We might have to do a podcast on the perfect open house as per Chris Okolita.
Yes.
So tell us about your team. How many agents?
Sure.
Well, let's talk about the name of the team. I don't even know if I said that already. So tell us about it.
So Sanctuary. Okay. Sanctuary Real Estate Team. it's got two meanings.
Okay.
Real meaning is, what does the word sanctuary mean? It means a safe haven, right? A safe spot. And what is that to people? That's your home, right? So your sanctuary is your home. That's your castle. That's your comfort blanket, right? So that's how we came up with the team name Sanctuary. Now, I give my wife the credit for this, Bob. I do, okay, because she came up with the name. Because to me, Sanctuary means something different. It means a nightclub that I used to work at. You know?
No, I remember the Sanctuary. Yeah.
So I used to work at the Sanctuary nightclub. So to me, I was like, yeah, that's cool, right? But you know, the true meaning of sanctuary is the safe haven, right? And it just means that your home is your castle, it's your comfort blanket, and that's where you feel the best and the most comfortable. So what better way to come up with a name that reflects what we're doing in this business is we're trying to find these people the home that is their sanctuary, no matter how big or how small or what the property is. That's their safe spot. That's where it makes them happy, you know?
Right on. Yeah.
So,
yeah. How many agents, how many folks do you have on your team?
So at the current moment, we have 9 agents on the team. I love my team. My team they're all go-getters, and all different types of personalities. And we make it work. We're very successful due to our lead source. And then from our lead source, we get more success because we do all of our follow-ups from that.
What is your main lead source, Chris?
Sure. So we are actually on the Zillow platform.
Okay.
I started doing Zillow my second year in real estate. This is back when Zillow used to charge you, X amount of dollars, and what you did with those leads, they didn't care, right?
Right.
So now, because of the success that I had with that conversion, I was invited to, when they created the Flex program, which they take a little bit of our cut, but whatever. But here's where we're at, Bob, is when I started this and that Flex program came out, there were over 260 teams or individuals on this platform.
Nationwide or just in Arizona?
In Arizona.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Okay. So it was infiltrated with a lot of agents on the platform, and a lot of agents were getting these leads, and some convert, some don't. So we've been very, very extremely fortunate. I want to say extremely because we have, and the partnership that I have with Zillow is amazing. It went from 260 to 200 to 180 to 160, 140. And then the last cut that they did was back in May, where they cut 100 teams. And that leaves us with 38 teams or individuals on the Zillow platform in the Phoenix metro area.
Wow.
So it's production driven, right? So I'm held to a certain standard by Zillow, and then the team is held to a certain standard by me and by Zillow, right? So for us to make all of these cuts, for being the small team of 9 that we currently are, that's huge.
Yeah.
So you're looking at, we're competing against some teams that have 20, 40, 100 individuals on their team.
Wow.
Okay. So to make these cuts that we do, we've been very fortunate. And I want to say that it is some of the training that we do and the algorithms that I know Zillow looks at, and we implemented what we need to do on a daily basis, how to reach out to those people, how to convert those leads. So when that was introduced to me, I brought on my very first teammate. And Bob, I'm not a guy that wears a shirt and tie, I know that. Me either. I'm a polo and dress shorts kind of guy. The first person I was interviewing, she came honest with me after I brought her on, after she's been on the team a little bit. She goes, Chris, I kind of hesitated. You came up and you got a couple of tattoos, you're bald, you got this big, and I got a skinny chain because the fat chain is hot during the summer. Okay. So my wife got me a skinny chain, but I got my chain and, shirts unbuttoned, and, I'm like this guy casual, and I'm telling her, look, I'm going to promise you the world. Just come with me. Right.
Yeah.
And I know she told me she hesitated for a minute, but like 2 days later, she called me up and said, "Yeah, I'm on board. Just make sure you keep up to your end of the bargain." I'm like, "I'm there. I'm 100% there."
Yeah. What year was that, you think, Chris?
4 years ago.
Okay. So 2019-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2000. Yeah. So my very first teammate joined mid-March of 2019.
Got it. What triggered you to say, okay, it's time for me to start a team? Because that's something that so many agents are all over the board on. They think they want to start a team, but then they start looking at the work and everything that goes into it, and maybe they decide against it. Some people prematurely start a team, or they start a team for the wrong reasons. But what made the light switch go off for you? Like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I've got to join it or start a team.
Sure. So I've got a strong personality, and I think I could handle everything. And I do not like to call out for help. That's not who I am. I'm someone who likes to grab the horns and drive, right? Go getter. But it came a time where I felt I needed to cry out for help.
Yeah.
So the amount of leads that I was getting versus what I was converting, I couldn't handle all of them, and I was forgetting about people. And I had a CRM, but I really didn't know how to use that CRM and how to utilize it to its fullest potential. Yeah. So I was really just depending upon my phone. And my phone was, okay, I call this guy, I text this guy, just keep calling and texting, but it wasn't working, right? So I was forgetting about people, and I needed to start a team. And it was that cry out for help. The amount of leads that I was getting because of the conversion rate that I got is what got me to grow a team. And I got that first agent, and then we needed more, and we needed more and more. And we worked all the way up to, we were a team of 11 at one point. Yeah. And we still couldn't handle all the business that we were getting. I mean, right. We were just beasts when it comes to conversion with them.
Right. So question for you, when you said it just got to be where it's just too much to handle, do you remember how many deals a year you were doing personally when you finally made that decision? Was there like a breaking point or a threshold that you crossed and you're like, okay, this is the most I could do right now without another person?
It was about 35 to 40.
Yeah, that's what I tell people, that 30 to 40 tends to be kind of the breaking point. I mean, you can get by for a little while with just a transaction coordinator. But pretty soon what happens is you end up having opportunities, leads falling off the table, and they're getting used up by someone else that's willing to step in and do it. That's when you know it's time. And so many times I get people that'll call, or I'm talking to someone that's thinking about starting a team, and I'll ask them, how many homes are you selling a month or a year? And they'll say, oh, right, well, last year I did 10 or 12. Well, then why are you wanting to add more, responsibility to your plate right now? And a lot of times folks that aren't at that threshold to where, and for some people, it might be 20 deals or 25 deals, depending on what they've got going. They might have 4 kids at home that they have to deal with, and taking kids to practice and events and running all over doing that kind of stuff. Or they might have volunteer things that they do for their church or whatever. And it's prioritizing your time. But the biggest mistake I see is that we try to get in front of, hopefully before someone makes the mistake of jumping in and starting the team, is a lot of people think that they can if they start a team, they'll have to do less work. Okay. And I think that's a huge fallacy out there.
Yeah, that's not right.
Yeah. So they think, well, I won't have to make as many calls and I won't have to sell as many homes if I can get a bunch of people that work for me and leverage. And then they get their calculator out and they say, well, if each person sells 10 homes a year and I'm getting a 30% split off of what they're making, then I need 5 agents and that'll cover how many deals I did last year. Well, it doesn't work that way. Okay. I always tell people you should only start a team and grow a team when you're trying to go and, 5 times or 10 times your business, your existing business that you're doing, because the worst thing you can do as a team leader is give up the most profitable thing you can do in your business, which is sell homes yourself. Yeah. And I think, in talking to you, that's something that you're still the top producer on your team or very close to it, neck and neck. But you didn't, when you started hiring people, you didn't say, oh, great, I can go play golf more, or I can go to the beach more often. Your work, talk about what happened with, your amount of hours worked just from starting the team. It's significant.
So yeah, you're still going to work a lot starting a team, if not even more, right? But I've never been that guy that even when I had the other businesses where I never sat back at the desk and just counted, my checks. I was out there. So when I had the landscape company, I was out there digging trenches with the guys. I was laying the pipe. I was doing that. And that's what I'm doing with my team. Is my team knows that I'm out there working with them as well. And they know that I'm not just, sitting here to get fat, and rich and sitting behind the desk and doing nothing. And or my wife calls it eating bonbons all day, right? That's not what it is. So
it sounds like something Marlene would say. Now, what about what do you think makes your team? Well, before I get to that, the one thing to make clear here for people is that you're in the same rotation of leads as your agents. In other words, when a lead comes in, it could go to you. If you get that lead, maybe it's the next, but you're in the rotation with your agents. You're not just sitting it out saying, okay, agents, team members, go knock them dead. You're right in there with them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm out there. When it's hot outside or cold, I'm still out there. I'm working with them. They know that, and they can lean on me too. Like if they get overwhelmed, I'm out there helping them show properties, you know?
Yeah, that's what being a team is all about. What makes your team unique, Chris? If you were to say like something, you've talked to enough agents and been around enough team leaders and so forth. What do you think makes your team unique compared to others?
Oh, wow. Hey, that's a great question. So I think the lead source that we, that relationship that we have with Zillow is very unique because not a lot of teams are getting those type of leads, and Zillow's not anybody on. So my team does not need to go out door knocking. Even though I'm a huge supporter of the open houses, like they don't have to go out and do open houses. We have these lead sources, right? But I think some of the things that separates us is my team understands our core values, and they implement those core values in their daily life. Whatever it comes down to, and it can be personal too, right? So it's all geared towards the business, but it could go towards your personal. And I'll tell you what, I once met this one guy, and he told me that he's a coach. So I signed up for his classes, and I'll tell you, Bob, I know we're not trying to plug you here on any of this, but I will tell you that some of the things that I've learned through the coaching sessions with you, I've implemented into the team, and the team lives by it. And I reward my team. Like one of my teammates reached out to me and talked about an event and things that we were thinking about doing. And the way that she had it written up, I was just reading things and I'm going, oh my God, this is our core values. Like our core values are porch. Okay. So porch stands for perseverance, optimistic, responsible, creative, and honest. And she hit like four out of 5 of the core values in her write-up, and I showed it to the team, and they're like, yeah, that's awesome, right? So what makes us unique is that we're utilizing the core values, and it's helping our business, but it also our lead source and the way I manage my team. My team looks at me like I'm their friend. I'm not their employer or their boss or team lead. They look at me like I'm their friend. Yeah. And I look at them like they're my friends. And
they're teammates. They're teammates.
Yeah. Yeah. So like we're a happy family, and we all, feed off of each other. And the other thing is that the culture that we have on the team is that they're always talking amongst each other. They have, we have a couple of different communication applications that we utilize, and they all know that they can reach out to me at any given time, and I'm always going to answer them. But if they feed ideas off of each other too,
Right.
which is great.
Yeah. So I think one big thing you missed there, Chris, that you're good at too is, and it's something that so few teams are good at. I mean, a handful of them are, and you're one of them, and that is accountability, holding your agents accountable and coaching them, mentoring them, training them to hold themselves accountable. Okay. Yeah. Can you tell me just real quick, like how you hold your agents accountable?
Absolutely. So we have a couple of different systems that we utilize. One of them is going to be in Chime, where they could go in there and anytime that they, and Chime's our CRM. Mm-hmm. So anytime that they make a phone call, they could log a phone call, they could log an email, they could log a text message. But also we have like a little printout and it's on their desk, and they circle and say, okay, I've contacted this many people today. Yep. And I've connected with this many people, and I've made appointments with this many people. So at the end of the week, they look at that and then they compare themselves to their teammate and they go, well, why is so-and-so doing so much better than me? What are they doing different? And they're kind of actually comparing these, and they're going, oh, so you're making twice as many calls as I am. I thought that I could just, make 5 calls a day. Well, no, it requires X amount of calls a day. And that's why I'm successful. So the accountability tracker that we have, that's printed out and on the desktop, and some of them went a little bit above and beyond, and they created their own little tracker on their phone so that they could just push a button and it keeps that. But through our CRM too, it keeps track.
Yeah. Well, the other thing you do that you didn't hit on there is you have one-on-one meetings with your agents, each individual team member, as well as weekly team meetings via Zoom most of the time. But I believe you're doing one of your team meetings every month is in person, right?
Right. So like today I had 2 one-on-ones with two agents. They're spread out through the week, and then we get in person once a month at the Chandler office, and that's usually a big 2-hour meeting. But in these one-on-ones, we look at their last 10-15 leads. We look at what the challenges or obstacles or the pros and cons to each one of these, and which ones are most important to work first, and which ones we could put on the back burner for a little bit, simply because of whatever the circumstance may be. But in those one-on-ones, it's really comparing where the top one is versus number 2. So, hey, number 2, what are you going to do to get to number 1? Or number 3, what are you going to get to number 2? Like, what can we do to help you to achieve a better conversion rate or better whatever that is with that particular client? Right. And then also, like, lastly is the keeping in touch with our people after the close. We have a 30-day mailer that goes out. We have a 60-day mailer, a 6-month, and a 12-month mailer that goes out.
Yeah. And how often are you doing those one-on-one meetings?
Those are done every month. Every month
you sit down one-on-one with each of your agents. That's awesome. Right. I bet you less than 2% of the teams out there do that right now.
It's time consuming. It's a little bit of a challenge, but you got to do it, Bob.
It is. And it's what I talked about earlier. Running a team doesn't make your job easier. I mean, it allows you to be, if you do it right, it allows you to be more efficient and more profitable, hopefully. But the fact that you're meeting with them once a month, that's exactly what I used to do with my team. I'd meet individually one-on-one with my agents, and then weekly as a team. And it just keeps everyone in the loop. It keeps that accountability going. And agents are looking for 4 things when they want to join a team. They're looking for opportunities, which are the leads. They're looking for the mentoring and the training. They're looking for the accountability, and they're looking for camaraderie. Okay. They're looking to be a part of something. They're looking for synergy. And right now, you guys are firing on all cylinders, and really you're hitting all 4 of those areas. And if you continue to do that, you're just going to grow and continue to be successful. What do you think the biggest challenge is for running a team, that maybe something that you didn't think was going to be a challenge before you started it?
different people's personalities.
Bingo.
It's different people's personalities. I thought is a little bit of challenging. Like,
Yeah.
it comes down to just like when you're running your real estate business, when you're meeting with your clients, right? You got to become that chameleon. You got to be able to, if that person that you're working with is aggressive or they're passive, whatever, you got to match up to your client like you do to your teammates, right? So each one of my teammates has a little bit of a different personality. And I talk to them differently. I know who's able to take what challenges or what criticism. And I know that some of them I can't do that with, right? So,
well, and you said it's like running your real estate business. You know what else it's like? It's like running your household. They're like your kids. Right?
And they don't listen.
Yeah, all these kids have different personalities, and you can have 4 kids with 4 different personalities. And I always said I'd come home and tell my wife I feel like they're my kids. But what goes along with that is how you feel about your kids. I've seen you interact with your team members, and you treat them like they're your kids. You love on them, and you also let them know when they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And that's accountability right there. But you kind of bring that whole package of all 4 things that they're looking for. And you're not perfect at all of them. None of us are, but you guys are getting better every day. I can just tell, like every time we have a coaching call together, there's just one more little thing that pops out that I'm like, right on, that one registered, that one worked, and this whole thing comes down to having systems and just being very what's the word I'm looking, consistent. Just like raising kids, you've got to be consistent, right? You've got to set ground rules for them. When they break the rules, there have to be consequences. We just talked about this yesterday in our coaching call, that if you have a teenager that you tell him to be home at midnight, and he comes home at 1 a.m, and there's not a consequence for that, he's going to keep doing it. Okay. If you tell your agents that they need to make X amount of phone calls a day to make X amount of contacts to set X amount of appointments, and they're not making the phone calls, you need to tell them they need to make the phone calls. If they don't, they get taken away. You can take away some of their privileges, or in this case, their opportunities, their leads, in order to get them back in line. Okay. So it's just like you've got another household you're running now. This is what it is.
But Bob, you also got to reward success.
Absolutely.
We do different things and different incentives. And my brother's in the car industry, and he's been in it for 24 years or so. And I kind of learned this from him, is because I go see him once in a while at the store. But he talks about, they were always talking about spiffs. Right? What's a spiff, dude?
Yeah.
We do these things where, they set an appointment, they get $25, and then that appointment shows up, they get another 25, or they did this and that, they get that, right? So it's not every weekend that I do it, but I try to do it at least once a month, if not twice, is I do a weekend spiff. So my weekend spiffs, what I do is I say, hey, you go out and you show a property and you're writing an offer, you're getting $25. And then if that offer gets accepted, that's $100. So that's another $125 that's on top of the money that they're going to make for selling that home. But and I give them in cash, right? So they have, like, the last team meeting that we did last week, I brought $750, Bob, in cash passed out as incentives for spiffs that, like, they hustle, right? So I give it to them, at the end of the month when we have our team meeting, and they held down the fort when I had to go out of town for a family emergency. But I said, hey guys, I'm out of town. I know that you guys can do your job right, and I actually upped it up a little bit. So it was $50 if you wrote an offer, and $100 if you convert it. So an extra 25. But yeah, $750 I passed out at the last team meeting for them simply just doing their job.
It's awesome.
You
pay attention and you reward the activities, not the results, right? So
and they love it.
So, it's the calls that create the contacts, that create the appointments, that create the sales. So you need to focus on the calls versus and the appointments, because that's what's going to, you reward that. Okay. It's just like you send a little gift to people that refer you to their friends or family members. We used to send a box of cookies or whatever to someone would say, hey, I referred my friend so-and-so. You will probably be getting a call. Okay. I didn't care if that call came in. They thought of me, they got rewarded. Okay. Yeah. And now I was smart enough to say, well, if she doesn't call or he doesn't call, what's their number? I'll reach out to them to make sure it doesn't fall by the wayside. But just you reward the thought, you reward the action, not the result. We call that, rewarding the activities instead of results. So very cool. So we're coming up close to the end here, and I've got this has been really cool, and I hope it's been fun for you as well to kind of rehash your past and all that good stuff. And I do appreciate the acknowledgement on the coaching thing, because I'm having just as much fun, if not more fun than you guys are getting together on a regular basis. I think we're both, learning so much about each other, and it's working out really well. But I want to wrap this up today the same way I want to wrap up all of my interview calls by asking you, today is August 9th, 2026, and I wrote this down. What has to have happened both personally and professionally for you to feel happy about your progress? 3 years, we're sitting here 3 years from today. Okay. And what would you think, Chris? Let's start like professionally. Where would you like to be where you say, man, I'm pretty darn proud of myself compared to 3 years ago?
Sure. So I think I'm proud of myself where I'm currently at.
You should be.
And the success that I had, but I think we're in the next 3 years, one of the things that I want to work on right now is how to better myself for the team. And I know my team respects me and they care about me and they care about the team and they care about our relationships that we have. But what is it that I could do bigger and better to not only help them, but to help me as well? But another thing is just the education part of it. There's so much, like, I love that saying, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room, so I want to go into those rooms that I don't know a lot, right? And every day's a learning experience, whether you pick up one little thing or you pick up a bunch. So to me, it's going to be more, I want to get more educated and learn more and be a little more knowledgeable, efficient in all aspects, whether it's business or personal. But it's setting up the proper goals and then crushing those goals, right? And I'm not going to say a goal is a small goal, because that's not me, right? I'm all in, right? So I'm going to set that goal that, we talk about the low-hanging fruits, easy to convert, right? We want to reach for the fruit up top, right? So that's what my goals are. My goals, I have a couple of goals right here, but I want to accomplish those goals that are up here, So I think that's what we're in 3 years, is that I set my goals and expectations really high and I conquered them.
Yeah, what you're talking about is growth. Okay. And I'm not just talking about growing the number of homes you sell or the number of people on your team, but growing as a person and growing as a team to be better at what you're doing. And, it's one of my core values, both for my real estate business and my coaching, which is grow or die. And grow doesn't mean expanding and getting bigger. It means getting better. Right. Yeah. And the part about what you said about being not being the smartest guy in the room, those are words to live by. I've lived by those words my whole life. I've always tried to get into top level masterminds, top level coaching groups and so forth. And I've learned so much by not being the smartest guy in the room and being a sponge, and knowing that there are certain things, not everything's going to work for you that works for other people, but you'll know when it feels right, it sounds right, and it feels right. if it's going to work for your situation. It's just like sales. It's like at bats, right? The more at bats, the more things you learn, the more opportunities you have to take bits and pieces of that to grow. So, good stuff. Good stuff. Anything else you wanted to add before we end this thing?
No, I just wanted to touch on just a little bit what you said is, some people gauge success in multiple different ways. It could be financial, it could be personal, it could be, their weight, it could be whatever it is, right? Like, I wish I had, I could grow some more hair, but there's whatever your goal is. It doesn't have to be business. It could be personal. It could be whatever it is, but it's setting up those goals and working to achieve them. That's where I'm at, right? Yeah. I've got the lifestyle and I love my lifestyle and I've worked extremely hard to get there, but it's little goals that I created and I'm working on getting there. But the biggest one, I'm telling you, is education. Just learning so much from anywhere, like anywhere I go. Any opportunity you got to learn about something, it's going to help you out, and believe it or not, it's going to help you out in more ways than one. And you can take that and then continue to learn more.
Absolutely, right on. Okay, well, thanks again, buddy. I appreciate you jumping on here today. It's been fun chat. I always have fun chatting with you guys, whether it's a coaching session or sitting here on a Zoom call learning more about you. You're an interesting dude. You lead from your heart. Yep. And the people that work for you are very fortunate to have a team leader like you. So thanks again for joining us. And I'll see you in another 2 weeks for our next coaching call.
Sounds good. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it.
All right, buddy. Have a good one.